Welcome, dear traveller, to the realm of shadows and whispers, where the veil between the living and the departed grows thin. Step cautiously into the mist, for you have arrived at the threshold of a ghostly tale, where spectres lurk in the darkness and phantoms dance in the moonlight. Tonight, we are going to be reading a haunting tale by yours truly. So sit back, grab your popcorn and snacks, and let's begin on our journey. This is Whispers in the Night by Neville Otter.
The year was 2007, and I returned home from my first year of college for spring break. My parents, once so attentive, had grown distant over the past several months. Their frequent texts had dwindled to almost nothing, leaving me feeling isolated and disconnected. Concerned about their sudden change in behavior, I decided it was time to visit them and see how they were doing. As I pulled into the driveway, an inexplicable sense of unease washed over me. Ignoring the feeling, I entered the house, hoping to find my parents simply caught up in work or helping my sister, who had recently escaped an abusive relationship. To my dismay, the house was cloaked in darkness, with only the eerie glow of static emanating from the TV in the living room. My parents sat motionless, their eyes fixed on the screen, lost in a trance-like state. It was unnerving, to say the least, but I brushed it off, attributing it to fatigue from the late hour. The next morning, I awoke to an empty house, except for what sounded like my sister having a conversation with someone from her bedroom, but was too muffled to make out what she was saying. Concerned yet again, I decided to leave her be, assuming she needed her privacy. As night fell once more, my parents still hadn't returned home, which struck me as odd. But the strangeness of the day was only a precursor to the horrors that awaited me that night. Lying in bed, enveloped in an eerie silence, I heard what sounded like my sister's whispers from earlier in the day echoing through the hallway. Calling out to her, I received no response and was met with silence, which lasted for about 5 minutes before I heard the sound of bones cracking and hysterical crying. Then, from the darkness of the hallway, a figure emerged in my doorway, contorting and twisting its limbs before it made its way to the floor. Panic surged through me as I watched it crawl under my bed, its long black hair trailing behind like a sinister veil. In a desperate attempt to flee, I sprinted towards the front door, only to witness the figure crawling along the walls towards me. Terrified beyond measure, I sought refuge at my neighbor's house, where we called the police. Hours passed before we received word from the authorities. They found no trace of anyone in the house, leaving me to grapple with the terrifying encounter alone. The following morning, I decided I should go back to see what was going on, since I never got a call from my parents. And when I arrived, I walked through the front door and found an officer trying to consult my parents as they were sobbing uncontrollably. It was then that I learned the horrifying truth. My sister was found dead in the basement, her body mangled and twisted beyond recognition. That was the last day I saw my sister. And since then, my parents have divorced, and I rarely hear from either of them anymore. The events of that night have been with me every day for 17 years now. A cruel reminder of the unspeakable terror that lurked within the shadows of my parents' home that night. And so, with a heavy heart and a shattered soul, I carry this burden of that fateful night, forever haunted by the memory of my sister's untimely demise.